Hey everybody, welcome back to another Former Athlete Society live Q&A call. I'm Adam Ringler, and this session is one of my favorite sessions to host because it's built around the questions that you have. The real stuff, the unfiltered stuff that happens inside everyday training and life, and it's just our day-to-day training, nutrition, and recovery. Now, before we get rolling here, there's a couple things I want to make sure I discuss, right? I always prepare for these sessions like it's a live locker room talk, right? And what I mean by that is that we got members dropping in from all over the country. People who are ex-athletes, people trying to figure out and reclaim their edge, and some people who are just here trying to rebuild consistency again. Today, I have 5 questions from our former Athlete Society community. And if nobody ever shows up, nobody ever watches the YouTube, I am still here because answering these questions, these are the exact questions that I answer every single day that I've had somebody walk me through 10, 15 years ago. So we're talking things like supplements and macros and conditioning and recovery tools and even water types. Yeah, seriously, like differences between tap versus alkaline water versus fancy bottled water debates, right? So here is what we are tackling today just to set the groundwork for what we're doing. Whether citrus bergamot really helps managing our lipids, if it's a supplement worth adding to your routine, how to manipulate your macronutrients if you're trying to build muscle mass without blowing up your waistline. We're going to talk about the truth behind what we call NEAT for body composition and why maybe 10,000 steps might be too small of a number for most former athletes, whether it even matters if you're drinking hydration, water, or whatever, right? I'll give you the truth from years of sports science and experience. And then finally, the biggest trigger point therapy tool that I've ever tested, I've ever used, and what I actually carry with me on all of my team travel since day one. Now, this is a mix of both science and experience. So grab a coffee, grab a water, grab an energy drink, whatever it might be. If you're mid workout, just let this play in the background. Let's get after it. We have a great show today. So, question number 1, citrus bergamot, right? It's a supplement, it's out there, it's available, and there's some efficacy as far as lipid management. Now, everybody talks about fish oil for cholesterol, but the real sort of thing that might move the needle, hardly anyone's ever heard of it. So, this question comes from Derek. Derek's out of Topeka, Kansas, and he asks the former athlete society this question. Adam, I keep hearing about citrus bergamot for managing my cholesterol. I'm reading it right here from the screen. Do you use it? And is it actually worth taking? All right, listen, this is a great question. And honestly, it's one of those that typically flies under the radar until you actually start looking at your own blood work, something I do quite frequently. So, yeah, I'll say it straight up. I do take that supplement, right? I take a supplement that includes citrus bergamot in it. I'm very proactive with my lipid profile because it's something that I just generally keep a really close eye on, especially as I've now crossed the barrier into being 40 years old. Uh-oh. And I'm still balancing my training and training stress and nutrition and genetics and all those things. So here's the deal. Citrus bergamot is one of those few natural compounds that actually has some real world published research behind it showing improvements in lipid profiles. Now, we're talking reductions in total cholesterol, your LDL, and even in some cases, a bump up in HDL. You're sort of what we call good cholesterol, if you will. Now, I'm not saying it's a magic pill. I've never said that. It's not going to replace statins if you are prescribed that from your primary care physician or anything like that if you've got major risk factors. But if you're like me, who's healthy and active and training hard and conditioning and eating well, but maybe your LDL runs a little high from genetics or dietary intake, then yeah, maybe some bergamot can actually help move the numbers in the right direction. So I first started using it inside a much broader cardiovascular support formula. And what I noticed was simple. It was that over the course of about 8 to 12 weeks, my total cholesterol numbers dropped somewhere in the vicinity of about 10%. My LDL dropped somewhere close to 15%. And then my HDL ended up bumping up a few points. Now, that's not placebo. That's clinically meaningful changes to my body and to my lipid profile. So here's where I always remind people if your lifestyle is terrible, no supplement will save you. If your sleep is trash, your nutrition's a mess, and you're not moving enough, then you're majoring in the minors, right? So we have to fix the foundation before stacking any type of add-ons. That's not going to fix anything. So, to Derek's questions, yes, citrus bergamot actually works, but it works inside a much broader framework of quality habits. So think of it like cleaning your windows. It doesn't matter how great your glass cleaner is if your window's already covered in mud. So if you're someone who's monitoring your health data, doing your annual or semi-annual or quarterly blood work and trying to fine tune the performance markers of your body, then absolutely. Maybe consider throwing some citrus bergamot into an arsenal of a much broader cardiovascular support supplement. It's safe, effective. It's one of the few natural options that actually have data to support. So I want to pause right here just real quick and do a couple things for our broader channel. If you don't know who I am, right, which is fine, right? You've navigated to this YouTube video and you've somehow managed to stumble upon it. My name is Adam Ringler. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I've been one for nearly 20 years at this point, and I'm taking all the lessons I've learned from training elite athletes and college athletes, and I'm giving it to you in this YouTube video. So if you like this type of content, what I'm going to ask you simply to do is like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to these videos. Help us get this video out to the broader masses. This doesn't affect your feed. It just allows other people to find these videos a little bit more. It helps drive the algorithm. So do me that favor if you're a fan of having some of this educational content delivered to your ears right now. Let's move on to question number 2. Listen, before I do, I just got to say, I love this question. I think this one is super rad. I think you're going to actually really like this one as well. So let's just jump right into it today. Um, Most people balk by eating more. But for me, I prefer a smarter approach, a controlled, steady climb. Let me explain what this means. Next question comes from Melissa. She's out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. And she asked the Former Athlete Society this question. I'm reading it from my screen so I don't absolutely butcher it for Melissa. And she says, I'm training consistently, but my weight and muscle mass has plateaued. What would you adjust, coach, with your macros to break through without just dirty balking? Great question. Now, this one's applicable for both male and female. I love this one because it's super tactical. It's the type of questions I wish actually more people would start asking before they start to just slam down $1,000 extra calorie a day protein shakes or mass building shakes, thinking that's the fix. So here's how I approach it. I keep my protein constant. Now, we've talked about this on past Former Athlete Society calls, somewhere in the vicinity of 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's the bare minimum of what I would recommend, i.e., if you're a 175-pound male and working your way up to 200 pounds, let's just say 175. Listen, I can't even knock that because I've been aggressively cutting, and I think I was 176 today. So my bare minimum is 176 grams of protein is what I would need, right? So you get the idea. That's your foundation. And once that's dialed in, the variable that I typically manipulate next is carbohydrates. But I do it strategically through a carb cycling model. And that means that on your training days, your carbohydrate intake is a little bit higher. And it's to fuel your training intensity. Now, and your recovery and your muscle glycogen replenishment. That's super important. Now, on non training days, my carbs typically taper down. My fats come up a little bit to help slightly balance out my total calories for the day, stabilize my energy levels, and keep calories consistent and constant across my days. But here's the nuance. I don't typically make huge jumps. I titrate my carbohydrate up slowly, 30 to 40 grams per week on training days. And then I monitor the scale, my body weight scale, strength outputs, visual changes, things like that with progress pictures. That's roughly, when you do it that way, 120 to 160 calories increases. And this is a very manageable increase that your body can adapt to without storing unnecessary fat. You do that now over 8 to 12 weeks blocks, and that's where you can actually see some magic happen. You can see consistently muscle mass gain without feeling like you have like puffiness or sluggishness or bloatedness or things like that. The mistake I see over time, all the time, is people overcorrecting. They go from eating 2,000 to 2,800 calories overnight. And the body doesn't like that. That's an extra 800 calories. Are you kidding me? It's like trying to jump 3 rungs on a ladder at once. You're going to miss your footing at some point. So, to you, Melissa, keep your protein consistent. Start slowly increasing your carbohydrate intake on your training days. Make sure your training volume and intensity justifies the added calories that you're adding. You can't just out eat lazy workouts, not suggesting that you do that, but you need to make sure that your workouts are on point. And if you really want to refine this, then track your morning body weight. Use the mirror as a gauge, use progress pictures, pay attention to your pumps in your training environment. That's super important. If you're not feeling fuller, stronger, and seeing maybe steady scale movement, you're probably not in the surplus that you're looking for yet. Okay. So keep pushing on, keep working hard, keep doing those things. When you do that, I'm going to tell you this, your body will love you for it, right? It will absolutely make those adjustments and it will make the adaptations that you're looking for. So great question. Let's move on. But before I do, a couple things real quick. If you're new to our channel, there's a couple different ways and avenues that you can support. Number one, this is my Instagram right here. I would love for you to go over to my Instagram, give me a follow, hit me up on one of my posts, maybe direct message me, leave a comment. Let's build this out. I often share a lot of behind the scenes access to strength conditioning, sports science, performance, and optimization, all of those things. I want you to head over there. I'm at Adam Ringler, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, etc. Right? So do me that favor, give me a social follow. I would appreciate that. Let's move on to a new question for us today. This one's cool. If you think 10,000 steps is enough, you're probably wrong, right? And that is the truth. Now, this next question comes from Troy out in Bend, Oregon, all the way out to the West Coast. Love that. And he writes, the Former Athlete Society and myself, this, Adam, I'm curious how you think about steps and NEAT for conditioning and fat loss. I train 4 times a week, but I'm trying to drop a few pounds. Okay. So what's your target for steps every day, right? That would be my question. Now, Troy, that's such a practical question. I love it because it's one of those sort of small rocks that makes a massive difference when it comes to consistency. So when I think about NEAT, let's explain that first. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? I look at it as like the hidden calorie burn that happens outside your workouts. We all know, right? We all wear Apple Watches and smart wearables, things like that, right? And that monitors and measures your calories that you burn throughout that workout. But NEAT is all of the various things that burns calories that aren't part of your exercise routine. It's your movement throughout the day. It's walking, it's standing, it's doing chores, even fidgeting, shaking a leg, restless leg syndrome, all of that considers and factors in to your NEAT. Now, when I was younger, I really didn't give NEAT the credit it probably deserves. I thought everything came down to the actual workout, right? But over the years, through data tracking and heart rate monitoring and comparing my own training logs, I realized that NEAT is kind of that silent multiplier. Now, my goal for me, regardless whether I'm in season or off season, or I'm trying to maintain my body weight, if I'm trying to add muscle mass, lose body fat, I always keep my daily step count above 10,000 at a bare minimum. And truthfully, quite often with my coaching job, right, I'm often around 15 to 20K easily. And no, that's not just from my workouts. A lot of that is sort of intentional walking. I get outside, 30 minutes mandatory every single morning, 30 to 45 minutes fasted morning rucks. I pace during calls. I walk all over my facility, parking further away from buildings, right? I take the stairs everywhere I go. But here's the kicker. I also count my conditioning sessions as part of my step volume. I know some people who don't. I happen to do, right? For example, when I'm doing fasted incline treadmill walks with the weighted vest, that's still steps and it's still calorie expenditure, right? Does it factor into NEAT? I don't know. I'm sure it does, right? But the trap that most people often fall into is overestimating how much they move outside the gym. You think you're active, but the reality is you're sitting at your desk or your office for 8 to 10 hours a day. Your NEAT has tanked and your calorie expenditure is constantly low. So, for former athletes, if you want to look, feel, and perform like you used to, getting those steps up consistently might be one of the lowest efforts, highest yields, returns, moves that you can make. Now, here's a mental trick that I often think. I don't chase a number. 10,000 is my minimum. I chase momentum. I look at my step streaks like a scoreboard. If I hit 5 days in a row, I love it, right? North of 15K, that's a win for me, right? Now, that builds my identity, some momentum. I'm the type of person that moves often. I love that. So, Troy, start tracking it. Don't obsess, but watch your trend. And if you're stuck on a plateau, before you start slashing calories, look at how you can manipulate your NEAT. It's usually the missing link. Awesome question. Love this. We are getting close to the end of the show. We're about 17 more minutes or so into it. There's a couple of things I want to tackle before we move on to our next question, because we only got two more questions lined up for us today. And those questions, before we tackle them, a couple of things. I was looking at our YouTube analytics. Most of us that are watching this video, you're not subscribers, right? That's what the analytics have shown. About 97% of those that watch our videos don't subscribe to the YouTube channel. So if that's you, give me a like, subscribe to this channel, and then hit that notification bell. Let me know, right? Subscribe to this bad boy, hit the bell, and let us, again, help the algorithm, help other people find these videos. I would certainly love that from you. That would make my day. Now, let's move on to question number 4. I think this one's a really cool one. This question comes from Casey out of Montana. Well, I don't think we've ever had a Montana question before. And Casey ends up writing us this. Coach, what's your take on different types of water? Distilled, alkaline, pH balance. Does it really matter? This one cracks me up because it's the perfect example of what I call majoring in the minors. No, it doesn't really matter. Listen, I've spent my entire career working around elite athletes, Olympic level, professional, elite, collegiate level athletes. And I can tell you this, no one's performance has ever really changed because of the brand or type of water that they drink, despite all the marketing, right? It hasn't. So, do I understand the marketing appeal? Absolutely, right? Companies sell the idea that alkaline water or pH balanced water is going to improve your hydration, your recovery, your cellular health, but the physiology just doesn't really back it up, especially for healthy individuals. It just doesn't. So, here's what actually matters: quantity, consistency, and electrolytes when appropriate. It's that simple. Now, I drink over 2 gallons of water a day. 95% of it comes straight from the tap. Right? I'm part of the generation that drank from a hose, guys. I'm still alive. Sometimes filtered, sometimes not. I don't stress about it because in the big picture of things, it doesn't make a measurable difference unless you're doing something so hyper specific like bodybuilding peak week or something like that, where water manipulation becomes such a critical part of stage prep. For most of us, we're not even getting anywhere close to that. Now, if you're in an area with poor water quality, sure, yeah, filtered water, right? That's awesome. If you like the taste of a particular brand, go for it. I'm all about that. But don't get caught up thinking that alkaline water is going to change your recovery or your muscle growth. It's not. Hydration is a consistency game. And if you're hitting your water targets daily, monitoring your urine color, so pale yellow is sort of kind of what you want, right? Not crystal clear. And you're adding electrolytes during long or high intensity sessions, you're doing it right. That's all you need. So, Casey, and maybe to everybody else in our former athlete society, save your money, drink your water, and just move on. Because honestly, you got bigger variables to master. Last question, but before I do, I want to pause and just say this. If you have yet to join us on the Former Athlete Society, this is my website. It's right here on the main screen. It's adamringler.com. You can head over here. You can sign up for a forever free blueprint. It's behind the scenes access of everything that we've done from a strength conditioning, from a collegiate athletics to sports science to all of this. You get it all for free. All the articles, all the notifications, all the newsletters come to your inbox for free. All you got to do is trade your email and get signed up. We do offer the Former Athlete Society level tier, and that is where you get one-on-one access, right? You get questions, answers, you get our accountability calls, you get our master classes, you get complimentary training program from a strength coach that's done it for 20 years, guys, and you get it for free, right? The training program, that is. Now, it is a monthly membership and there's an annual plan as well. So annual plan saves you a little cash. The monthly membership's a little bit more expensive, but you can cancel at any time. You could try it out for a month, see if you love it. If you don't, no big deal. You only lose essentially, the price of probably some fast food or something like that. But you're the former athlete society. We shouldn't be eating fast food in the first place. Let's move on to our last question today. And this one's cool. This one is all about muscles. What do you mean by that? If you got tight spots in your body that never seem to loosen up, this little ball can change your life. I mean it. This last question is from Elena. Elena's out of Amarillo, Texas. Giddy up. And she asks, Adam, what do you use for trigger point therapy when you got those lingering tight spots that never seem to go away? Elena, you are speaking my language right now. And this just makes me smile because recovery tools, listen, man, that's my thing. I travel with them. I carry them with me. They're part of my everyday kit. I use them every single day. I've tested just about everything on the market over the last 15 to 20 years. So here's my go-to. I do keep 2 lacrosse balls in my team travel kit right behind me, one for general work. The other is sort of taped together with athletic tape. It makes it what we call a little bit of peanut. I probably will swap that out for what I'm going to tell you from the company. The peanut fits perfectly along the spine, lets you hit the along your spine, the paraspinals without sort of smashing the vertebrae. But I'll tell you the truth. My absolute favorite soft tissue tool is Kelly Starrett Supernova Ball, both the larger version and then the smaller version, lacrosse size essentially. Those things are money. They're grippy, they're firm, they're designed with sort of like rigid edges that bite into the tissue. Way better than a smooth lacrosse ball. A little bit more expensive, I will say that, but way better than a lacrosse ball. So when I'm working with teams, I've got dozens of recovery tools laid out, rollers, sticks, massage guns, and you name it. Guess what ones athletes grab first? It's the Supernova Ball every single time. Now that tells me what I need to know. It works. So if you're looking for soft tissue tools, that's my number one recommendation. Kelly Starrett, you can go over to Mobility Wad. I think it's now Ready State. I pick up, I always travel with 2 of them in my bag, both the big one and the small one. So Elena and anybody else that's, recovery nerds out there, grab a lacrosse ball. That's super cheap, but maybe consider investing in one of those Supernovas. All right, here it is. I think that's going to be it for today. But hopefully you took something away from this Q&A. And honestly, this is one of the most practical sessions out there that we've probably had yet on the show. Because honestly, here's what we covered, right? We've talked about supplements as far as managing your lipids behind citrus bergamot and how that can be one of the few natural compounds that actually has evidence behind it. We talked about carb cycling for your macronutrient manipulation for muscle growth without the bloat or fat spillover. We broke down what NEAT is, that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and why your movements outside the gym matter more than what you might consider, right? Especially when it comes to lean muscle mass. We shut down the overhyped noise of alkaline and pH balanced waters because, quite frankly, it's just marketing, right? You just need regular water. And then lastly, we talked about recovery tools and why I love Kelly Starrett's Supernova Ball and why I think it's a super great tool to have in your toolbox. Now, if you found value in this, do me this last favor, right? Hit the thumbs up on this, give this video a like, share it with a friend, share it with an athlete, share it with a coworker who's trying to rebuild their edge. And then lastly, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. Now, if you are not inside the Former Athlete Society already, that's where the real conversations happen. Now, I invite you to go a little bit deeper. Programming, Q&As, threads, exclusive community calls, and direct feedback from me and the team. So I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for tuning in to our show this week. I will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Stay strong. Keep getting after it.